News First Weekend with Sonali Wanikabatuke.
Good evening indeed and welcome to the news. We first start off with a look at tonight's headlines. President authorizes the verdict issued on General Sarath Fonseca by the first court-martial. The DNA says discussions are underway to act as a common opposition. Two children from Ratnapura who tried to pluck rambutan struck by lightning. Information comes to light that Sakwiti Ranasinghe sold land with forged deeds. And measures taken to cancel Independence Day celebrations in Pakistan due to fresh floods. The Army headquarters says that President Mahinda Rajapaksa has authorized the verdict issued by the first court-martial, which found General Sarath Fonseca guilty of engaging in politics while in uniform yesterday.
The verdict issued by the court-martial stated that General Sarath Fonseca should be dishonorably discharged. Yesterday, the website of the Government Information Department reported that the decision was pending approval of the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, the President. When news first inquired into the matter, the Army revealed that as the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, the President had authorized the verdict.
Democratic National Alliance parliamentarian Arjuna Ranatunga says that discussions are underway to act as a common opposition to make sure that the present problematic situation in the country will not continue. The parliamentarian expressed this view when he visited the Galle prison today.
Parliamentarian Arjuna Ranatunga and Anoma Fonseca arrived at the Galle prison today to look into the well-being of DNA parliamentarians who are in remand custody. A group of relatives was also present at the occasion. They have court-martialed a 4-star general. The law is implemented by a Major General and a Rear Admiral of the Navy. All this is happening based on their law. There is no law in this country at present. I am glad that I have no involvement with this government. The opposition as a whole believes that this should not happen, and we are holding discussions to make sure that this will not happen in the future.
The whole world knows about the laws pertaining to the court-martial. However, our country does not know that. The general did his duty on behalf of Sri Lanka and the world. The entire world knows this. Just because the general loses this, that is nothing new to it. Just because titles were removed, history cannot be changed. No one can erase the name of General Sarath Fonseca and the service he rendered to end the 3-decade-long war.
Meanwhile, views were also expressed about the court-martial at the United Nations daily press briefing.
Sure. You may have had some response to in Sri Lanka. Number one, the former General Sarath Fonseca, who said that orders were given to kill surrendering individuals, has been now convicted in his court-martial. It's not clear what the sentence will be, but I'm wondering if between that and the Sri Lanka's own panel beginning and giving rise to various parties, including international crisis groups, saying that it's not credible, whether the UN is monitoring that, has any response to it, and whether the UN's panel, its own panel, has begun in the 4-month clock.
Monitoring what?
I guess the trial of a high-profile possible witness as to war crimes, and Sri Lanka's own own panel. If Ban Ki-moon's advisory panel hasn't begun yet, who here is monitoring that? Or hasn't begun? And then I've missed that.
On the question, the first part, I have to go back quite a long way because there are quite a few questions jumbled up together there. On the court-martial you mentioned, we do not have any new comment on this process. As you'll recall, following Sarath Fonseca's arrest, the Secretary-General urged the authorities to follow due process of law and provide all the necessary protections and guarantees to safety. With regard to the experts you mentioned, the panel of experts, they will be they will be able to start their work quite soon, but we'll be able to give you more details, but not at the moment. But obviously, in the interim, the United Nations is, of course, aware of the domestic commission that has started its work in Sri Lanka.
Essentially, the focus of it has been on the breakdown of the ceasefire, nothing about the final stage of the conflict.
Well, as I say, we're aware that it started, and that's where I want to leave it on that particular point. And just to add, as I said already, that the panel of experts, the three, will be meeting, I'm sure, quite soon, but I can't tell you exactly when it will.
The United National Party vehemently condemned the ruling issued by the first court-martial against General Sarath Fonseca.
Deputy Leader of the UNP, Karu Jayasuriya, stated that the party is deeply saddened by the ruling of the first court-martial to strip General Sarath Fonseca of his rank dishonorably. The release issued by the Deputy Leader of the UNP stated further that the government should acknowledge the severe opposition to this ruling by the majority of the citizens of the country. The release states that General Fonseca, who is being stripped of his rank, is the highest officer of the security forces who was instrumental in the military defeating the LTTE. The release also noted that immediately after the military success, the highest officials of the government were in praise of General Fonseca's leadership, and that this situation drastically reversed as soon as he decided to contend the presidential election as a common candidate with no party affiliations.
An unfortunate incident of two children who were struck by lightning while attempting to pluck a rambutan was reported to News First today. Now, the deceased children were a 14-year-old girl and a 9-year-old boy.
Pumi Sandamali and Madhuka Artikala of Patulpana, Lellupitiya, Ratnapura were of playful age. As it was school vacation, the children had been at the house of a cousin of theirs, Supuni Umesha, and were playing in the garden. Eager to taste the rambutan fruit atop the tree behind the house, they had gone up to the tree. Since neither of them were tall enough to reach the fruit with their bare hands, they had used an iron pole which was close by to reach the rambutan. However, the iron pole had got entangled in a high-tension cable that was adjacent to the rambutan tree. It is indeed unfortunate to witness this sad ending, which came about because of the lack of awareness of these children regarding dangerous situations such as these. Madhuka, who went to save his sister who first got electrocuted, also sustained injuries. So did their cousin, who went to save the children. A lemon tree in the vicinity had also caught fire at this time. Our correspondent stated that a group of Ceylon Electricity Board employees who arrived at the scene immediately thereafter had acted swiftly to disconnect the power supply and rushed the children to the Ratnapura hospital in an ambulance belonging to the Balangoda Base Hospital.
We were travelling from the Balangoda Base Hospital to the Ratnapura Hospital. I saw a fire at once. That is when we saw that 3 children were on fire.
Supuni and Madhuka, who were in serious condition, succumbed to their injuries while on their way to hospital. Madhuka's sister Sandamali is currently obtaining emergency treatment at the Ratnapura Hospital. Madhuka Artikala was a grade 4 student of the Lellupitiya Valley Malua Vidyalaya, while his cousin Supuni Umesha also studied in the same grade. Pumi Sandamali, who is currently receiving treatment in hospital, is a grade 9 student of the Pathakada Buddhist College.
I told them, warned them that an incident of this nature would happen. We told them to relocate the power line, but they didn't. I was doing my work in office. That is when I heard the people at home yelling the children were on fire.
They told us that they were going to pluck rambutan. We advised them not to. The next moment we saw The next moment we saw that they were on fire. We tried to save them. We couldn't. If I jumped in, I would have been with them.
On the 9th of this month, a similar incident was reported from the Villevatta area in Vellampitiya, where a child who attempted to salvage a kite from a high-tension cable was electrocuted. Gihan Chanuka was a grade 5 student of Sedavatta Siddhartha College. Who should be held responsible and accountable for incidents such as these? Is it not up to the parents to ensure that the children are kept safe?
With regards to this incident about the child being electrocuted, I think it is the fault of the parents. Now, when they are teenagers, just about 12 to 14, they are children who do what they like and they are changing over to adulthood. So that is the time parents have to be very careful about children's whereabouts and what they do. And surely somebody would have seen these stray wires anyway. Somebody should have noticed it. And whatever it is, parents have to be aware about what children do at that age especially. Because without the parental permission, it's not the right thing to allow children to play about anywhere as they like, and especially these times, because these incidents happen and it's very unfortunate.